Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Hammer Cat Games. We are your hosts, CATOINMOTION and Producer Mike. Say hey.
Hey, happy Friday, everyone.
We are really excited to be reviewing Trine 2 today. At long last, we have finished part 2 of the Trine series. There were a few infuriating parts in the middle, but honestly, the deal. Okay, Mike was a little far away from me. The DLC kind of saved this game, in my opinion. But hey, we're gonna get into it right now, and we're gonna start with the.
Whoa! Wait! The DLC kind of saved this game. What are you talking about? When we started playing Trine 2, before we realized there was a DLC, because I wouldn't say we're dumb YouTubers. We're just the time we dedicate to it is a little bit of prep and then go. And so we get surprised by DLC.
We dedicate our lives, guys.
Oh my gosh, the editing to anyways, being a YouTuber takes so much time. But my point is, when we went straight from Trine 1 to Trine 2, and there is a noticeable... So there's a review that I read, because I actually prepared for this stream. There is a review that I read from IGN that... I think it was IGN. No, it wasn't IGN. This was PC Gamer. Yeah. The review from PC Gamer is this really funny quote. This was written by... Who was this written by? Did they say it? John Blythe. John Blythe wrote this a long time ago because we play old games here at Hammercat. So he said this really funny quote. Trine 2 may retread a lot of old ground, but it's beautiful. It's like Frozen Byte are saying, oh, did we make Trine? We meant this. And I think that's a really good way of summarizing it, right? They made Trine 1 almost as a prototype. They made a little bit of money. They hired a bigger team. And a couple years later, they just redid it. It basically rehashes a lot of the stuff from Trine 1. It just does almost all of it better. Except for the leveling up. Like the leveling up the stats, you know, that's the thing I would get into that's like crap compared to Trine 1. But... other than that, it's just Trine 1, but more beautiful, better gameplay, better controls, more stuff, more puzzles. Like, I just think it's... Now,
it's just a better game entirely.
It's just a better game. So when you get to the DLC, it's like, okay, this is Trine 2.5. They're just... Frozen Byte is just... We witnessed them... I mean, I know this is 8 years in history, right? Or 9 years in history. But, like, we witnessed them grow as a game studio and get better. You know? And 2.5... The Goblin Menace is proof of that. Like, they're just getting better and better and better, you know?
I mean, yep, don't get me wrong. At the end of the day, I still gave this a C+, so...
That's because you're brutal. That's because you're brutal.
I can't deny that.
You're brutal. You're brutal.
Well, we're gonna get into it anyways. So begins our Trine 2 review. We're gonna start off... Actually, we're gonna measure this with... 3 aspects of the game.
Show them the thing. Show them the thing. It's beautiful. Okay, we're prepared here at Hammercat Games.
Putting this together, so here you go, guys.
Here, I'll hold it. You can talk, okay?
This is a breakdown.
I'll be Vanna White.
We're gonna rate all these games based on gameplay, graphics, and sound. Not in that order.
This is really scientific, y'all.
Yeah, and they're all out of 5, so the whole thing's out of 15, which is a beautiful number. We didn't feel like for this particular game, story really mattered that much, let's be honest. So we took
it's like it does matter to many people, but we bantered over it rather than paying really close attention to it. So we felt like we wouldn't be the best judges of the story. I hear people like it though. I went on the Trine fan page on Facebook, and people like the story, man. People are into it. We just kind of ignored it for the sake of bantering.
Thought the concept's great. Trine 1, we knew. Okay, cool. Three spirits and joined together by this crystal.
Yeah.
Trine crystal. Okay, awesome. And this one, it was just kind of like familial spat. Sister basically tries to assassinate her other sister to gain the crown is the premise. And then the DLC's like that. The queen that you now save has been kidnapped by goblins for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then we got to go murk these guys.
Well,
that is the plot.
Let's be clear about... Ooh, we just got a boost. Hello.
Hola.
Hola. Okay. Sorry, I just messed with the audio for a second. Yeah. Well, first, let's be clear. Let's be 100% clear about your expectations of Trine and what they should be. Trine, the TR is for trope, because everything about this game is tropey goodness. But what I love about it is that they executed their tropes well. They delivered on tropes, you know? And the thing I will say about, like, look, I love a good sci-fi. I love a good zombie movie. I love a good fantasy. I love, you know... These fantasy tropes, they delivered. And if you're expecting that and they deliver, a trope is not always a bad thing. It's a dirty word. It doesn't have to be. You know what I mean?
Well, I totally agree. But let's keep this like organized now because I feel like we're
I'm sorry.
Dipping into like gameplay. Let's start with the graphics, guys.
Fair enough. So,
how do we feel about the graphics? Do you want to go first, Producer Mike?
I'm comparing it to Trine 1, and man, I gotta tell you, the massive improvements there, and the amount of times I was just telling Kevin for performance issues, I think I'm gonna upgrade the graphics for games that we play in the future because we really didn't have performance issues during the stream, you know? We've really kind of ironed things out here at Hammercat Games, but anyways, that's getting into the technical. We played this game on medium graphics, and I still was blown away. Even some of these screenshots that we're shooting right now in OBS, it's a beautiful game. I don't care that it's 2D. I don't care that it's 2D in 2011. If it's beautiful, it's beautiful. And the improvements from Trine 1 to Trine 2 are why I gave it a 4.5.
Yeah, I have a hard time giving anything like perfect, to be honest. So maybe I'm just being the ampersand hole here. But I gave it a 4 out of 5. I also thought it was a very beautiful game. There was a noticeable step up actually from the base game to the DLC, despite using the same engine. And I'm just kind of like, I kind of wish you guys put that same level of effort that you put into the DLC into the base game to make it to give it that little bit of extra sparkle. That being said, because we bought the game with the DLC, it actually just moves seamlessly into that. So it wasn't that big of a deal. But we did definitely notice differences, I think, in some of the graphics and definitely in the gameplay when we went to the DLC, because it almost felt like, oh, this is part 3. It's more action-packed, but this isn't talking about graphics anymore, so I'm not going to get into that until we get to the next section.
Well, but I think that the graphics were different. They have more cutscenes and this and that. So
they did.
I will give, whether or not we like the plot, we're not going to rate story for this one.
No,
but,
we are not.
But they did add cutscenes, and cutscenes are a big part of graphics. And they made cutscenes, and like you said, the DLC cutscenes were even better. Honestly, the Global Menace was basically Trine 3, and Trine 3 is basically Trine 4, and Trine 4 is basically Trine 5. But I respect their numbering system. They're the publishers. They get to do whatever they want, But
definitely.
I don't know.
I mean, for me, it's just kind of like, okay, cool. Let's say, fortunately, we're buying this game like 10 years later, almost. 2011 game, we're playing in 2020. Cool. Math, whatever.
Close enough. Anyways, it's pretty much a decade later.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, cool. So you release the base game, and then what? Half a year later, you release this DLC that's just clearly one-upped your base game. Like, why didn't you just make the whole thing that way? Was kind of my whole...
Yeah, I'd be interested in looking into that, like problems during production.
Yeah, maybe they had a deadline and they're trying to meet it. I don't know, but it kind of irked me a bit. I did enjoy Trine 2, and had I not played the DLC, I think I probably would have given graphics a slight, like a 4.5, just because it's like, oh, this is the end of the game. Great. But then the DLC like stepped it up using the same engine, and it just kind of made me wonder, why didn't you just do that the whole time? Just had those same quality cutscenes, same quality art. Even at the end of the game, there was like a cool cutscene when you run into the cave to save the princess. Nope, that's for the next section. So that's how I felt about graphics.
I just found out something.
They're beautiful.
I found out something a little bit interesting about development. So apparently they did Frozen Byte Humble Bundle. Do you know Humble Bundle?
Oh yeah.
So they did a Frozen Byte Humble Bundle to raise money to develop Trine 2. And it was really successful, and apparently they raised $700,000, and they put that towards Trine 2. So keeping in mind that they built the engine originally, I'm not surprised that we kind of disagree here. I'm really impressed by Trine 2 base games. So, this is especially the graphics, but the cutscenes in the Goblin Menace are insane. Yeah, they're just so much better.
Stepped it up.
They really stepped it. So it's like, but I'm glad it went in that order. You're seeing a small $700,000 is not that much to make a game. It's a lot for you and I to make a game, but for a studio, for like a mid-sized indie studio like that, that's not that much.
I think it's like 250 employees in Finland or something.
Yeah, which 250 that money goes quickly.
Much.
That money goes quickly, And so the fact that they didn't have to reinvent the wheel here. The fact that they didn't have to rebuild the engine, that really helps.
Like, once again, we both agree this game is beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
He gave it a 4.5 out of 5, and I gave it a 4.
It's 4. Yeah,
so,
exactly.
like, guys, it's a beautiful game. You're going to love the way it looks and the artwork as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that takes care of that. We're going to jump into gameplay now.
Yeah.
This is where we had a few more gripes. Actually, yep. Do you want to go first? Because I think you're going to punch more holes into it.
Well, here's the thing. I think that the gameplay did improve from Trine 1. I mean, Trine 1, it was... I can't say buggy, but it was just a bit like ragdoll physics. It was
clunkier.
It just was clunkier. Yeah. Now this one doesn't quite play like Mario. Few games do.
Yeah.
But the platforming felt more fair in this game, especially with the thief.
Oh yeah.
You make an input, and that thief does what you say it does. And as far as gameplay, the players had more powers, and so I really enjoyed playing with the knight. I felt like the knight was very powerful this go around. That charge effect, I mean, there were just a lot of things that each character could kind of do. I still don't love the way my controller worked with the wizard. You know, I can't count how many times I tried to make a box or something, and it wouldn't let. No, I forget what it was. I was trying to make a triangle and it made a box. Anyways, it was just, it really, when the controller, when you try to keep pushing the same input and the controller says no, and it's a basic game input, I'm gonna dock you a point for that. I'm sorry. Like, it's just over and over and over again. And you said you weren't having the same thing with keyboard mouse, and I respect that. It's originally a PC game, but they've since ported this game to PlayStation. They've since ported this game to Nintendo Switch. They've since ported this game to Xbox.
100%.
You've gotta get your controller working, you know? So that's a big portion of gameplay is controls for me, and we don't here at Hammercat Games have subcategories. So.
Yeah, no, and I mean, in case you missed that, we did use both to play through this whole thing.
Kinda
Keyboard
makes
and
it
mouse
fair. Yeah.
and keyboard. So
Yeah.
we're not screwing around here. Admittedly, every time we had to use the wizard to draw any sort of shape, a platform, a box, a triangle.
And
it
I'm
was
using a
always an
Logitech.
issue.
Like, it's really a normal. This couldn't be more
it's solid.
standard, you know?
Basically a GameCube controller, let's be honest.
I mean, for PC, it's
For PC.
It's really a common controller. So
yeah, and it was, I think it was fine for just about.
still better than
Any
Trine 1,
other
man.
character? Yeah.
Still better than Trine 1, and still decent. And the amount of times that you gave player input and it responded well, especially with the thief. Yeah. And it was way better than Trine 1. I thought the enemies in gameplay were so much better in Trine 2.
To be fair, there's a bit of bias here. Mike has like this allergy to skeletons.
Yeah.
Those are skeletons.
They had these Jack Skeletons that were like, all of them were Robin Hood, dead Robin Hood.
It's true. They really didn't miss. There was like homing. If you didn't move like immediately after the arrow was fired, you're done. It's gonna hit.
They don't even have eyeballs. I don't get it. Like, how are they that good at archery? Why can't they be like stormtroopers and just pew pew and just miss you? You know. Anyways, but there were especially during the Goblin Menace, there were times when we were fighting and we were getting wasted. I was getting wasted.
We both got
by a
wasted.
bunch of goblins. It wasn't even. That's the one thing I will say. I think this game is a little unbalanced. I loved how difficult hordes of goons were, but I disliked how easy many of the bosses were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree with you on that, but I'm not gonna steal your thunder.
No. Steal my thunder. You're fine. I'm passing the mic.
So once again, guys, like you play the base game, and you're like, oh, that's it for the bosses. What? Honestly, the hardest part of the game was solving some of the puzzles to get the EXP orbs.
Yeah.
Oh, and also.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Okay. This is a gripe. We gave good ratings, guys, but we have gripes.
It did well. But look, this whole thing with like leveling and skills where it's just like, oh, you choose the skill you need for the moment and then you reset it for the next moment was really annoying because we didn't even realize that's how they set up the game until we got to this one part in a forest with plants that just ate you as soon as you cross them. We just wasted, I think, 30 minutes on our stream. You can find that stream. I think it's like episode like 6.
I think it's episode 3. I think it's early.
Oh, early in the game? Okay.
Yeah.
Just madness. We were just like, okay, everything we do, they just eat us instantly. There's no chance. And then Mike actually had to look it up. It's like, okay, how do we get past these? And it's like, oh, you got to distribute your points to learn this one skill that makes the thief invisible so you could run by.
Yeah.
And it was only practical for these like 3 levels. And after that, you don't need this skill anymore. So you reset. And then later on, it's like, oh, you need to have this knight's shield skill so that you could fly over this gigantic chasm. But then after that, you don't need it.
Yeah.
It's like, we actually didn't use all the skills in the game, which I think we probably should have done just to see what they all do. But it's like, why would you design it that way? Just give us all the skills from the get-go then. Like, this is...
Well, and I know this is, right before we started the stream, we were talking about how much we dislike measuring things based off of replay value, but I will say that the skill tree gives an opportunity for replay value. Like, can you solve puzzles using different skills and this and that? And can you max out the skills of someone? I don't know. I'm just saying hypothetically because we didn't put it in our ratings, but it's worth bringing up just for a second because some people do really care about replay value when it comes to games.
I mean, in theory, you could do like a bunch of videos.
It's a linear puzzle game, so it's hard to say it's got a lot of replay value. It's not Mortal Kombat, you know.
I mean, you could do a whole bunch of runs where you just say, okay, cool, I'm gonna do a single build run, for example. Yeah. And then it's like, cool, your wizard, your thief, and your knight get this one build and you can't deviate. Of course, there's this one skill you do have to learn, otherwise you can't.
Dude, when I did research for this game, people do speedruns. I found out people do so many speedruns of Trine 2. I think it's crazy.
It's a platformer, it's not surprising. Platformer, puzzle platformer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I'll be one of those people.
No, I don't think. I'm
I
not
don't think either of us have the patience. But
well, no, I've enjoyed it, but you know, it's over. I'm gonna move on.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know? It's really good. It's really good. I recommend it. You should play it, and then move on with your life, unless you want to speedrun Trine 2. And the people that are really into it, it's gorgeous. If you're gonna speedrun a game, pick one that's pretty.
Oh no, 100%.
Right? Pick one that's pretty and has a good soundtrack. Speaking of which.
Oh man, we didn't even tell them what we gave it.
Okay, let's tell them what we get him. For gameplay, I gave a 3.5. My gripes were awfully big.
I mean, I feel like we had the same gripes. I still gave it a 4 for like a 2011 game with like a small budget. But maybe, you know, honestly, most people aren't going to look into that.
Could be
how big was their budget?
Honestly,
like, who
could
cares?
be because you played it with keyboard and mouse. Your experience is probably just a little different.
That is a very good point.
You know?
I had no issues in terms of control for
I had
anything.
some control issues. Some.
Yeah.
Let's be clear, some.
Yeah. And once again, I just didn't give it a perfect score, even though it was leaps and bounds better than Trine 1. Because once again, you play the base game. It's like, okay, this is pretty cool. I can't say that because that would be a spoiler. Darn it. Okay, look. The ending's underwhelming. Just straight up.
That's okay. You can say the ending's underwhelming without talking about the ending. Yeah.
Like, we beat the boss, and we're like, okay, cool. Next level, and we're like...
Wait, let's be clear. The endings were underwhelming.
True. Both of them were underwhelming.
Both of them caught us by surprise. We were like, that's it? Like, they were gorgeous, but we just thought they were a mini-boss. We didn't think that was, like... the end of the game.
Once again,
we were surprised.
You can watch that stream and it's just like we think we're going somewhere or we're rating the there were so many times in this game where we're just blindsided. We were prepared to do one thing and it's just like, oh, it's done.
Yeah, level's over. Yeah.
What?
So maybe that's a knock on level design just a bit. But...
Yep, but part of gameplay. So I gave it a 4 instead of a 5.
I gave it a 3.5.
Yeah.
Probably because of my controller difficulties.
Still fair. They need to get that stuff together. So now we're moving to sound.
Yeah, I want to hear what you have to say first.
You know what? I'm going to tell you what I gave it first and explain why. So I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. And the reason why I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 is because the sound does not detract from the game. It doesn't really add a bunch to the game either. It's nice. It's pleasant. It's got like that fantasy vibe. Cool. But by the time you hit like level 2 or 3, you're kind of like tuning the sound out for the most part. And I know you're going to say that we did lower the sound in the stream, but we didn't actually do that until halfway through the game.
We had a lot more sound in our earphones in this game than we did Trine 1.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like, I didn't really notice it. Other than, atmospheric sounds. I'm having trouble thinking the word right now.
Ambient background sounds?
Ambient background sounds. Yeah. Okay, I thought those were pretty good. Once again, I didn't give this like a failing grade for sound. I thought it was good. It just wasn't
You gave it your lowest rating, bro, out of all 3 categories.
You're right, I did. But it passed.
Me complaining about gameplay with my controller is the same grade that you're giving it for sound.
Well, I'm just saying, look, if you get a 5 out of 5 out of sound,
you're critic.
Yeah, no, I mean,
it's cool.
If you give it a 5 out of 5 out of sound, it's got to be like Final Fantasy level, because it doesn't matter what Final Fantasy you play.
Oh, I don't agree.
All have.
I don't agree.
That's up every Final Fantasy 5 out of 5 music.
I'm not saying Final Fantasy isn't a 5 out of 5. I'm saying that's not a baseline requirement for being excellent at sound.
No, I think that's a baseline requirement. Okay, maybe above and beyond. That's like a 6 out of 5.
Dude, Turtles in Time gets a 5 out of 5 for sound. It's a classic It's a totally different style of game. But like, can you think of anything wrong with that sound? No, there's nothing wrong with that soundtrack. It's perfect.
Dude, do you see what I'm doing right now?
I'm telling you.
I'm singing the melody.
It's like swinging and grooving.
Okay, but
dude, it's perfect.
This is my point. Sing me something from Trine.
That's not the point.
You're not gonna remember any of the sounds.
It's the main theme. Just every time we started the game. I edited more of the video.
You did, that's why. It's like now that you're singing that part, I remember that section.
Yeah.
But it's just like, okay, anyways, that's why I give it a 3.5, because it's just kind of like, okay, cool, you're not adding or taking away. It's just this cool background thing. And I'm not going to remember any of the songs when I move on. Yes.
Ari Polkinen, I give you 5. I give you all 5 points. It sounds perfect. Like, what more do you want? I want to be on this sound crew.
I just told you.
Hire me. Seriously, hire me. I want to do sound effects for you guys. I want to draw some attention. I'm sorry if my pronunciation is not perfect, but Ari Polkinen. Sorry again about my pronunciation. He's the composer for this game. This is the same guy that composed for Angry Birds, which I know is like a totally different type of game, but this is the Angry Birds composer that had such a good soundtrack. He also did Nex Machina. He also did, he did Just Dance. He's done all the Trine games. He's done a bunch of Angry Birds games. Yeah, Outland, I remember that game. Soundtrack's great. I spent more time with this soundtrack than Kevin did, so I think that's why I just because I've done the trimming, I've done the editing, so I've spent more. What does it say? There's too many movie lights. Hire me. It's true. Hire me, Frozen Bite. I'd love to do sound with your team. Saying I'm available, but I don't want to compose. I don't want to steal it from Ari. He's awesome. It's great. I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack is how a trope makes you feel. You know, I read an interesting article the other day.
That's true.
I read an interesting article the other day, and it said, why do some people watch the same TV show over and over again and the same movies over and over again? Do you know why?
No, because I've never done it.
I know, you don't do this. But it's to deal... But you're an odd duck, and that's why we love you. So I watched Star Trek The Next Generation on repeat with Kate, and I know that's dull, but it's to... Apparently people who do this, it helps with anxiety. Because you know what the plot's going to be. You know what to expect. Look, I didn't know the plot of Trine. I also didn't pay that much attention to Trine. But the plot. We were doing other things, right? We were bantering. I'm not gonna. It might be a great story, but that's not why we played Trine.
You can trust us.
And that's not why we love Trine. Okay, Trine's a really good game series, and we're gonna play Trine 3 and Trine 4 after a short break. We're gonna play Trine 3 and Trine 4, and I'm very happy about that. It's a great game. It's a beautiful game. We're recommending. I think I can speak for myself. I'm recommending you should play this game. This game is affordable. You should go out and get it and play it. Like, go for it.
100%.
Definitely, go play it.
Honestly, you could skip Trine 1. But that's a whole other thing.
Not untrue.
I'm not saying Trine 1 was a bad game. I'm just saying
Trine 2's better.
Trine 2 is a lot better. And you're not missing anything plot-wise.
No.
So yeah, you can.
I'll tell you what, playing Trine 2, and if you enjoy it so much that you want to see the background story, Trine 1's really affordable too. Knock it out, okay?
Honestly, they come as a bundle. You can get all 4 for like $25. Boom, done.
There you go. But my point is, the sound effects, the ambient sound, and the compositions, the music, the background music, it just made me feel like I've already seen this before. And I'm speaking about Trine 1 too when I'm reviewing this also. Like, the sound effects were better, the ambient sound was better, soundtrack wasn't better, it was just classic Ari Polkinen. It was awesome, you know? And I just, at some point, you gotta give a 5 out of 5, you know? And Final Fantasy has the perfect sound for Final Fantasy. This game had the perfect sound for Trine 2. I would drop my mic, but I have precious microphones. So.
I mean,
metaphorical mic drop.
That would have been really good if you did and walked away. And
so our overall grades, what were our overall grades?
All right, so overall, Mike, what'd you give it?
So I gave it a 13 out of a 15, and that was a little bit more generous than Kevin. I gave it a B+, and I'm giving it a B+. with a strong recommendation to go out and play it if you like fantasy stuff and if you like puzzle platformers. Yo, I get really frustrated with puzzlers, and I thought this was like middle difficulty, medium difficulty. Kevin saved me on a few things, but even I got through this game, and I'm not great at puzzles. I'm okay at platforming, not great at puzzles. Don't bring up the final chapter or the final level of Trine 1. With the exception of that, I am a decent platformer. I am sorry. Still sorry about that. I just posted that VOD this week, and I was so embarrassed. I'm like, and you know what? And I started talking about Venus. I'm like, I'm such a dork. And we didn't even realize the game was ending. That was the other thing. So I'm sitting here embarrassing myself. Anyways, sorry. That
is so true.
Inside joke.
Frozen Bite, man. Endings. God.
But I gave it a 13 out of 15. I'm recommending it. I think that you should go out and play it. It's also available on Switch. And I've heard there was one person on Metacritic that complained about some lag. It sounds like they're having problems with their Switch. Everybody else said it performs great, that it's beautiful, and that it's a really fun game on the Switch. So try it on console, try it on Switch. Be ready, though, if you're the wizard, because the controller's a little bit broken, but not 100% broken. It's worth playing. It's worth playing. Go out there and get it. Go support Frozen Bite. Go play the game. Kevin, what was your review?
I get 11.5 out of 15. This is largely because of my sound complaint.
Which is totally warranted.
I think it's warranted, but if you don't care about that, then honestly, I agree with Mike. Go out and get it. It's a great game. It's not a frustrating puzzler. It's dynamic. There's a lot of good action, especially in the DLC portion of it, which is essentially a whole other game, by the way. Mm-hmm. It's like 7 levels, and the base game's 13.
I can double check that, but I think it's 13. Anyways, you got it roundabout.
Yeah,
right?
There's a lot of levels, so you're gonna get to enjoy some great gameplay, sounds that don't offend, and some great graphics. Arguably, yeah, maybe I could have given it a 4.5 out of graphics. Maybe I was being a little hard on it, but that's a solid C+. It gets a pass, and just because it's C+ doesn't mean it's not a great game, guys.
We're hard graders, man.
Look, man, back in school, I settled for nothing other than A+.
Metacritic, the Metacritic Metascore for the complete story was 87.
What do they know?
So they gave pretty much the exact same grade that I did. So
yeah, mine worked out to be 76.
You were a bit harsher, but the user score gave it an 8, so you got a 76. It's right around yours.
Pretty darn close.
Kevin and my scores were.
Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, both Hammer and Cat's scores were pretty close to what people on Metacritic were saying.
Yeah.
So take that for what it's worth. We're sheep. That's what you should know.
No. We're a little tougher than these soft boys in Metacritic.
That's true. It's true.
What do they know?
So anyways, guys, I think we're going to close things up, but that's our review of Trine 2. Go play it. We recommend it. It's definitely worth downloading. It's on deals, oftentimes on sale on Steam, and when you do sales on Steam, they're really hit or miss, in my opinion, and this is a hit. You'll enjoy this one.
Yeah. Also, the local multiplayer was, I probably should have mentioned this much earlier.
That's okay.
Local multiplayer, great feature. We had a lot of fun with it, and it's actually a way to make the game slightly easier. So yeah, definitely go get it. Play with a friend. Online, man. Or offline, and you're gonna have a great time.
Play with a friend. Play with your girlfriend. Have a good time.
And yeah, thanks for joining us for another episode of Hammercat Games. Hope you enjoyed this review. Hope it was helpful. And we'll see you next week when we start Tonight We Riot.
Tonight We Riot. All right, you guys. See you next time.
Ciao.
Cool.
I thought it was really good.
We did that in 30 minutes. That's like we're getting closer to this like perfect length,
Yup. I thought that was a really solid stream.
Yeah, I can edit it down if you want. I can make some jump cuts. I feel like...
If we're going to edit it, the only thing I do is like, let's actually cut to gameplay from like previous streams.
Okay.
Periodically. Just because I know...
It's like some of the frustrating shit we were talking about?
Yup.
Oh,
like
wow.
the plants.
Oh, we're still streaming our